Namo Buddhaya, Sasdikra. I have arrived in Thailand and I'm very happy to be here. I was going to look at the questions and comments that have been sent in. I have looked at them and I was planning to make a video talking about that, but I think I'll leave that until tomorrow. I arrived 24 hours ago, so I need to just catch up on some, and have been catching up on some sleep, having missed 2 nights whilst travelling of sleep, and then adjusting to the different time zone. It's only 2 hours. I'm not sure exactly what jet lag is. It's never really been something I fortunately haven't suffered from. But if it means tiredness, then I have a bit of that, that's for sure, because I this morning woke up very enthusiastically at my usual time of, say, between 2 and 3 in the morning, and it was only, whatever it is here, 11:30, 12 o'clock, so long way before going on Pindapat, arms round. But I managed to doze off. Anyway, less of that. Less of me. What I want to do whilst I'm here, and I'm not sure how long that's going to be yet, is continue talking to you about your comments and your questions, the Dharma, with a slightly different flavour to it, because of course my experiences as the days go by are very much governed, or very much govern how I relay and talk to you about the Dharma, because everything we do in our lives on a daily basis, all of our activities, whether sitting, standing, walking or lying down, should involve mindfulness. Now, the first thing I have to say, having spent now 24 hours, a little longer, but a lot of the first bit was travelling, coming out of Bangkok, even though on the Sky Train, they call it, which I'm very familiar with, so partly because of that it was quite easy for me to get to where I am. I left Bangkok's airport straight onto the Sky Train, right to the bus terminal where I usually go from, got a bus, very smooth, very nice journey. As a monk here in Thailand, you couldn't be in a better place. Each and every person treats you like it's the day you've just been ordained. It's your birthday, it's Christmas, it's Easter, it's all of the Buddhist holy days and every possible wonderful day in the calendar, all of the time, if you're a Buddhist monk here. It is their religion, of course, as a country, but it is also their firm, the basis for the way they live. You can tell. And the country is, they have a word in Thai, sabai, which means just chilled, relaxed, and that is it. I'm in a country where they don't even have a word in their language for stress or tension or worry. They don't have words, not an actual word for that. They'd need to, it doesn't happen. So if you do have a tendency, and I know when I first travelled to Thailand a long time ago, as a traveller you get frustrated, and sometimes people just smiling and seeming chilled makes you more frustrated and red-faced, and then they laugh because they don't understand this reaction. Why is that? Because I think it's their training from a very early age. They meditate. Children meditate here more or less as soon as they sit up. Certainly in the their first experiences at school are to sit with the other children, meditate for a little while, and they do some chanting, and then that's their morning assembly. And before lessons, it's part of people's lives. So this is a different flavour, a different context, a different atmosphere to where I've been for the last 3 years, or over 2 years, 2.5 years in India. Even planning, well, it needed no planning, but I've put off making this video, as you can see, until it got dark, because I've got used to trying to find somewhere to sit and make a video where it will be at least quiet enough for me to hear myself think. You've seen in the previous videos me going from here to there, and well, you haven't seen that, of course. I make it look easier than it is sometimes, that part, but there really isn't, it's not India's fault. India's beautiful in very many different ways, but there really isn't ever a place, unless you go deep into the forest where I was staying, and then you've got animals, and then there's no facilities for making really videos anyway. Unless you go really wild, it's a noisy, busy place. Their religious activities are noisy, there's no doubt about that. And they go on all night for several nights in a row. So there are differences, but each of these places has its own qualities, and this is the beauty of the nature of the human race. In some respects, we are all the same, but let's be truthful, let's be honest. From country to country, we are not the same. Now, of course, not even going into the the aspects of discrimination between different races and countries at all. No, I think it's a beautiful thing that we're all different. If you take dogs, for instance, or cats even, but mainly dogs, it's more identifiable. I mean, you have pedigree dogs and you have mixed up dogs, mongrels I think was the word for them. But there are all these different kinds of dogs, from poodles to mountain Alsatians, or big things like bears, and little puppy fluffy things like this. Now, how boring a world would it be if all of those dogs were the same? Well, the dog world would be quite boring, wouldn't it? So variety, change, is a wonderful thing. It is also one of the things that we fight against. It's our natural instinct for consistency, as I've spoken about in the last few weeks since New Year, few days, it seems a bit longer, having travelled. I don't want to talk too much about the actual aspects of travelling. This is not a travel vlog. There are so many, hundreds of those I've noticed since I arrived here. YouTube feeds you stuff whether you want it or not, all about the visas and the goings and the comings and what you can do, what you can't do. Suffice to say, I was Buddha, Dharma, Sangha blessed in arriving the day I did. I got to the airport thinking I had to fill out a form. I said in the last video, I've got to fill this immigration form out and this, and I've got my pen. Anyway, every queue I went into at the airport, I was quickly, without even stopping to queue, and they queue here. An amazing thing. I haven't seen a queue for 2.5 years. They love queuing neatly and tidily, politely, and if you're a monk, you're at the front of that queue all of the time. But I didn't even get the opportunity to queue. Before I even stopped, I was then moved by a very polite airport staff. No, you just go straight through, sir or venerable or whatever they were calling me. I didn't really pay much attention, but just go through, this way? And I'm looking at the exit. Yes, go straight through. And then this kept going on 3 or 4 times through every possible checkpoint I thought I'd go through, not to be checked, go straight through. And then I went to a desk and he looked at my passport, he stamped it, free visa, 45 days here, and gave it back to me. I said yes, expecting 50 questions, because you have about an hour of questions at where I've come from when you arrive, or even when you're leaving. Actually, when I was leaving, many questions. I thought, why? I'm leaving. I'm coming back, but you don't necessarily need to know that. But they needed to know that. A lot of questions. Here, nothing at all. And this very polite gentleman, Saudi crap like this is Anjali they make, but it's also their natural greeting to each other. Just go to the exit. So really, literally, all I had to do was get off the plane, walk out of the airport via someone stamping my passport, because this is, at the moment, the way it is here, or up till today, for British passport holders. But then today it's all changed, or tomorrow, midnight tonight, or 1 o'clock a.m. at this time. Thai, so I don't know what this time zone is called here. I should check that. But whatever this time zone is, Thailand time, TTZ zone, Thailand time zone, at 1 a.m, it's not like that anymore. You have to have, I think, vaccines and PCR test things, and any signs of temperatures or sniffs, coughs. And I had both yesterday a little. That was just why I was really run down after 2 nights no sleep. I was coughing and sore, sniffy nose from the airplane with the air conditioning and all the dust coming with me from India, and I was not on the best of form. I think I would have failed any test I would have encountered, but I'm fine now, very healthy and happy. But tomorrow, it's back to the old thing as a result of these sadly increased levels. So I just arrived the day before, and now I'm here untroubled by all of this goings on. So I'm very grateful to circumstances, let's say pachaya, conditions, that made that possible for me to arrive in this place for a while, to practice Buddhism, practice sila, samadhi and panya among people. And I'm not saying they're all angels, because they're the same as other human beings, but I certainly don't have to explain what I am, what I'm doing. Still a few questions. Where's your temple? Which one are you staying at? Or how long are you staying? And that brings me on to how today has gone. I'm staying in, some old friends of mine own a guest house here. This is the balcony, veranda, whatever you call it, of a very nice room. And I'm staying here last night and tonight, and I may take them up on their very kind, still very tired, stay maybe one more night. But I have now, not far from here, over this direction, behind me, you can't see it, I'll make a daytime video tomorrow maybe, there's a big Bodhi tree, under which is Guan Yin, all lit up, but nicely so, lit up with candles and a little subtle lighting. Because it's actually not called Guan Yin, it's another one of the Bodhisattvas. I think it's I've forgotten the name. The next, Maitreya Buddha is what I would call her, but she has another name in Thailand. He, looks female though. Buddha, anyway, that's coming under this tree, very beautiful. And that's behind me. And if you keep going, there is the Upasaka, who I'll talk about in a moment, his little temple right at the back there, through some trees and some buildings. It's basically a tin shack with a little shrine. But it's wonderful, it's beautiful. That's how it should be. No gold, no flashing lights, no paintings even. It's just a little bit of a dirty floor and a little shrine and a tin shack and wood, and this is where he worships, this is where he practices his devotional side of his practice. He was a monk, he's now an upasaka, he's been around living on these 8 precepts for many years. I wasn't sure whether I was going to have the opportunity to see him again this time. Excuse me a moment, I'm just grabbing something from behind. He, before I left for England, last time I left here, he gave me this is called an amulet. They're very popular in Thailand. People have many of them hanging around their necks and all sorts, like sort of a Mr. T situation, but it's a very beautiful amulet with a Buddha Rupa, Buddha statue inside, protectively encased, which I've carried with me ever since. And if you've seen the video about shrines I made back in the early days of this, you'll see this along with another one. I won't get up and grab that one. Little tiny Buddha that someone gave to me. That is my shrine. Wherever I stay, even in the jungle, I set up a little mini shrine that I bow to. I light candles and incense. Whether you are into this devotional practice or not, it doesn't matter. That is my practice. I find it helps with reminding me of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, but bringing it into the body by this bowing and this recognition of something. I know it's just made of metal, glass and materials. Actually, it does have some relics in the bottom, I've been told, of a dead monk. In a little file, you can see it at the back, a vial, a glass tube. However, as soon as I was getting to Thailand, to Bangkok, I wanted to head for this gentleman's location. And that's what I did. I came straight here, and before I even came to the guest house, which is just next door, this is how I met him, a long time ago now. It will be 5 + 3, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 years ago. I wasn't sure, because of his age and COVID, whether he'd still be here. But I walked up the drive, and I put a little video on there, short, if he made the video. I didn't even know he was filming me. I went straight to him. He was sitting in his same place, meditating. I disturbed him, and I said, and I can never remember his name, but I'm not going to tell you that anyway. He's told me now, until I have his permission. I don't ever include people on videos, if I can help it, even in the background, unless I've got their permission. But I went straight to him and said, hi, and I'm back on Saturday crap and this and that, and he recognized me, and I showed him this, and I was so happy to see him. And this gentleman has got this temple at the back here, and behind that is a kuti. Now it's even more of a tin shack than the temple, but it has a little wooden raised platform, and from either tomorrow night or the following night, I'm going to spend some time living there in that little kuti, which isn't really a kuti, more a shelter, but it's very much approved by the Buddha. We can live in empty buildings, and I have found empty buildings today as an alternative. A cave, under a tree, or in the open air. Or in a monastery, of course. But if practicing alone, those are your only 4 options, the 5th being a monastery if you're joining a community. So rather than going and staying at Wat Marp Jan, the monastery where I was previously to leaving Thailand, I will practice and live in that location, 100 meters or so over there. If you go 300-400 yards that way, it is the sea. But it isn't jungle and forest. This is a little town called Ban Pei. And it's the foot of the mountains, which are jungle, which is where my monastery, where I first practiced, trained, and my first teachers of a foreign nature, from a foreign country, are there. This is where I spent a lot of the last 5 years prior to going to India. I'm conscious that I'm waffling on. That's a sign of the tiredness. I wanted just to update you as to my location. Tomorrow I will get back to looking at the wonderful comments and questions that have come in and answering those. Talking about those. I say that because I don't have all the answers. I will just put them in the perspective of the Dharma. And as you see, I've spoken for some time, and this is the first little sound, you probably can't even hear it, of a motorbike starting up and going off, with a distinct absence of horns being sounded, because that's like every other country, doesn't happen here. That's a unique Indian exclusivity, horn sounding all of the time. It's a very peaceful, relaxing place to be. And this morning I went on alms round. Alms spelt A-L-M-S. Of course, people giving alms, charitably giving food, my meal of the day. I set off at 6:30, which is just after dawn, just before sunrise, so it was just getting light, and I just walked. Before I'd walked 100 yards that way, I was approached, and rice food was going in my bowl. Another few feet, a little scooter pulled up behind me, the same. I gave blessings, they kneel, and Anjali, I gave blessings, and then it didn't stop. After, I'd say, well, certainly no more than a quarter of a kilometre, if that is such a thing. That would be 250 metres, I think. Yeah, no more than 500 metres, 500 yards. I needed arms, actually these kind of arms, more of them. This is why I think it's maybe called alms round, because without any more arms, I could not carry any more food. I had a carrier bag full of food and drinks, heavy. My bowl was full of rice, sticky rice, all kinds of vegetable curries, some meat curries, all things I didn't know what, everything. And I had to really just turn around, do a U-turn and walk back down the other side of the road, because my attention was being drawn by them, because we walked not really looking, but they were calling me on my way through, and more. So obviously I was delighted that they could offer, and I was delighted to be so well looked after, and I have been so very well fed today. And I'm so grateful to Thailand and to those people. And this afternoon I had to go out on some errands to pick some supplies up, some candles and some incense, etc., from various places. And all of these things were just, were given as dana, sangha dana. And all of the people came out and say, "You're coming tomorrow morning, we are coming to feed you." And so tomorrow I will go again, the same. What a wonderful place for a Buddhist monk to be. And I'm honoured, very honoured, to have had the conditions in my life, at this time of life, to be able to enjoy that support. Because it is only with that support of food, each and every day, our one meal, and shelter, which has now been offered. Actually also clothing, robes. These robes were sent from Thailand, also offered, just before I came here. And medicine. So of course I thought, well, with this travel, I don't know whether this is, I should say this, but before I get on the plane usually I just take 2 paracetamol. I think it's a little cheat, it just brings the temperature down a little bit, I've been told, and that could be a myth, but it also just isn't going to do you any harm. 2 just ordinary paracetamol, no additives, caffeine or anything like that, or special names, cheap. So I went to replace, I just like to get a little strip of a few, you know, of those. I went to the pharmacy. So there's my medicine also, again the same. We did some chanting. He had been a monk. Most men here have been a monk temporarily. They have temporary ordination here for a little while himself. In fact, he'd done 3 pansas, so he'd spent 3 vasas, that is 3 months periods in 3 separate years as a monk. And of course, again, so I've been offered robes, shelter, food and medicine, apart from the robes a little earlier before I came here, all in this day. My requisites are provided. Oh, and shelter, these people, kind people, my old friends here. So it's sabai, it's piti and sukha, rapture and joy. It's sukhi hotu, it's very happy, be well and be happy. It's all of that, and I want to pass all of that on to you for watching and taking an interest in whatever this content I put on these videos is, however you see it, however you use it. If it's useful, use it. If it's not, ignore it. If it's entertainment, all well and good. If it's instructive, all well and good. I don't mind. If you keep watching, you keep subscribing, I will keep making. And the subscriptions now are quite a few more. Certainly for the time being, and now it's going to be a lot more easy for me to make videos each and every day, and it's going to take less of my time. It didn't take very much of my time in India either, but it's going to take even less, because I don't really even have to think about where I'm going to make the video now. There isn't anywhere that's going to be inappropriate. There may be, this is a Sunday, it's Uposita weekend, and I can't hear any music, so I don't know whether that's because it's Sunday of the Uposita weekend. But normally you'd expect, because it's a town, to hear some karaoke in the background music or some music. But it all seems very, very sabai, very peaceful here tonight. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. My apologies if I haven't spoken on any specific subject of Dharma this evening, but as you know, all of our worldly activities, and as monks, our monastic activities are all Dharma. Our life is Sila, Samadhi, Panya, and we are our conditions, our lives are anicca, dukkha, anatta. So we keep our moral virtue, we practice meditation, we develop our wisdom in the understanding that everything is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not within our control. So with this in mind, wishing you metta and many blessings from this beautiful country of Thailand, a Buddhist country, where I'm sure there's going to be very many more interesting things for me to share with you. From here and from me, good night for now, and I will speak to you again very soon. Namo Buddhaya, Sukhi Hotu, Sukhi Hotu, Sukhi Hotu.